It's time for Mama Bear Donita on the Mama Bear Cancer Support Radio podcast. Welcome to the Sharing Den, where we share cancer stories, products, and information to support anyone going through the journey. We will be there for you. We will be there with you. Now, welcome Mama Bear Donita.
Hi, this is Mama Bear Donita, and you're listening to the Mama Bear Cancer Support Radio podcast on Society Bites Radio, part of the Radio Ear Network family. My podcasts are also available on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Miami Community Radio, and the SOB Network. And today I want to welcome Lisa. Lisa McKenzie is the founder and executive producer of Unite Empowering Events, a program whose mission is to help women embrace life beyond cancer. Lisa's passion for exploring opportunities to empower women is what drives her daily ambitions. Seeing how hard women can be on themselves, Lisa recognized the positive role she can play in the community, drawing from powerful tools she used to climb out of a dark space. Hi, Lisa. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And you have a much longer, beautiful bio than I just read, because I'm going to save that for social media. But you're probably one of the more decorated people I've had on the show, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show.
Oh gosh, thank you.
You aren't a cancer survivor, but you founded a program for women who have had cancer, and you dedicate your life to this. What fuels this passion for this program?
Yeah, I get asked that question all the time. People automatically want to make the assumption that, oh, you had cancer, so this is why you do this. And I think it's past that. I think it's more about the human condition, and something that everybody can have in their lives is that, we're going about life, and then all of a sudden something happens and you don't recognize yourself anymore, and you fall into a dark place, which happened to me. And you believe that's your new permanent reality. And, I did for 2 years regarding a personal situation with my marriage. Mine wasn't cancer, but I can tell you I was clinically depressed. And for 2 years, I thought, this is the way I'm going to live. I went to bed with anxiety attacks and panic attacks and was crying all the time. And I'd go close myself in my bedroom so my young kids wouldn't see me. And I didn't recognize the strong Lisa that I used to be. And so slowly but surely, though, one day I just stopped. I didn't want to feel bad anymore. I think that's what happens with a lot of ladies in our program, is they just don't want to feel bad, but they're not quite sure how to feel good or what that looks like. In my situation, I had amazing friends and tools that were presented to me, things that I tried that day by day by day made a difference, until all of a sudden I could see the sun shining again. And then it shined really brightly, and it's with practice and daily perseverance and applying these tools for better living, where all of a sudden you are this new version of yourself, and you can look back and say, wow, okay, like I can see why those things happen. I know a lot of times people can't ever figure that out, but in my life, I was able to see how God connected all those dots to bring me to where I am now. So I try to apply those lessons to help these ladies with the community involvement of all kinds of professionals and just loving people who say, you're not alone. We understand what you're going through, and we know that you have a desire to feel better.
I am just, you can't see me, but I'm just shaking my head yes the whole time, because I don't know that cancer needs to be restricted to the actual physical cancer cell itself. I think cancer has multiple meanings, and I think a depression can be a form of a cancer. Cancer is just an abnormal cell, or we talked this morning on another show about oxidative stress and how it's really becoming so prevalent. It's just really bad. And I think that a lot of that is mental and emotional health. But I do believe that I've been where you were, but it didn't have to do with my cancer. It was, well, sort of it did. I had a full hysterectomy, and I was very suicidal, very. And it just threw all of a sudden, it was just like one day, so, yeah. And then it went away the same way. So, but I'm very acutely aware of that now too. Like I don't let myself forget that, because I don't want to ever be that sad again. And so, not so sad that I don't want to live on earth anymore. That's That's terrible. And I'm not saying that I'm terrible or bad, or people that do that or think that are terrible or bad. I'm just saying it's really not an answer. So, do you feel that mental and emotional health programs are like underserved area healthcare? I feel like they are.
Well, that's what I've heard, and we've witnessed day in and day out. And I have this incredible advisory board. My advisory board is just full of physicians, oncologists, and surgeons, and OBGYNs, and other members of the community. And they themselves will say that they are failing in that area. It's the system. The way it's been designed is that a lot of the ladies will say that the cancer part was sort of the easier part. I hate to say this. I mean, I don't want to diminish the disease.
No, but it's true.
But when they are, diagnosed, of course, it's just horrible to hear those words, but then they're put into some protocol where they're surrounded by nurses and doctors and a schedule and people telling them how to live and what to eat and what to do. And then at some point they say, okay, we'll see you in a few months, or, and that's when they, these ladies say they fall off a cliff, because they don't know what
hard.
Yeah, they don't know what it's next, and they don't. I don't think anybody wants to be labeled. We find in our program, there's some people who are proudly wearing the pink ribbon and participating in those events, but there's just so many people who are like, how did all of a sudden I get this label? And do I have to wear this like a badge on my, back wherever I go, where this is my identity? And so we, I think there's a lot of struggle also as to, how they perceive themselves and what they want to do about it. And I think that there's a constant conflict about, what their new life is like. So, yeah, I do think that it's absolutely. Go ahead.
You grow as a person, and maybe the people that are around you aren't growing with you for whatever reason. And you turn out, if you can picture like an assembly line, you go in, you get your, whatever it is, you get your surgery, you get your chemo, you get your radiation. And so if you figure it like an assembly line, it goes through 1, 2, 3, and then you come out. Well, where do you go when you come out? So, and you're completely different. I mean, you're physically different. You're emotionally different. You are just completely different. And while everybody is so thrilled that you lived and that you're going to come out of it and everything, they are definitely not prepared for, and neither are you, for what comes out. And I agree wholeheartedly that the survivors are their own entity. And I also found out not only are survivors their own, so are caregivers, because we caregived for my mom, my husband, and myself for his mom. And that was its own animal as well. And it's the same thing. You come out, but I think I know I'm kind of talking, I'm not completing my sentences, which is not really good for a podcast. I apologize for the listeners. But what I'm trying to say is everything is a catalyst. Like every event that happens to you can either it can be the tiniest thing that turns you around, you know what I mean? Or like the biggest. It doesn't matter. That everyone has growth, and not everyone's prepared for, not the people that are on your team and that are rallying behind you aren't always prepared for the growth. And I think that your program, like I was just reading on your webpage, it's uniteevents.com, YOUNIGHT events.com, no spaces, no big caps or anything. And it's, I went to your mission, and it says there are over 16 million cancer survivors in the United States. And in New Orleans, where you are and run your program, is 24,000. New cases will be diagnosed. Yeah. So, it's and what's interesting is that I find, so I go to these conferences and I hear doctors and oncologists and drug reps, and I hear the whole medical profession. And then I have people that are consistently on the show from the medical, giving different that have not gone through cancer, but are ways to maybe help reduce the possibilities cancer. And then I have the spiritual end of things. And I just kind of want to say, and I think you do too, we chatted yesterday, and if we could take everybody and just combine everything and combine everybody's efforts and everything, I think you could make some great difference. And you in New Orleans are making a huge difference. Tell me a little bit more about your program, just
Okay.
specifically
Well,
the program.
I do wish that our program was available at more locations because of how effective it is for the women we have served. We were founded in 2013 as initially an empowerment program for breast cancer survivors, where women would, I decided it would be fun to gift some ladies with an experience of training to walk the runway, because I read an article that this little runway training program, it was for younger kids, like true people who wanted to be models, that the side benefits of going through that was confidence and posture and things like that. And I thought, you know how when people get together and they do the painting parties and stuff, I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun if you took that example of an experience with the camaraderie and you challenge ladies who might not necessarily be feeling their best because now they might be bald, no eyelashes, their body's changed, but you sort of force them to step outside their comfort zone and see themselves differently, having no idea at the time that I came up with that concept how successful it would be. So we gifted our first class with this experience of training to walk the runway, even though the majority of these ladies we knew were not going on to become professional models. But what happened in the process is the bond they developed in walking through the program together, and first starting off kind of like, why am I here? You know, I don't know if I want to be here. My family sort of told me I should do this. Or some were like, yes, I deserve this. I owe some me time. I want to be pampered and learn some new things. But what was so cool to watch as this unfolded is that they became this really tightly bonded group of friends. And that lasted well after the event was over. And I realized at that time, I'm like, wow, we're not creating an event, we're creating a program. And these ladies need to have that continuing friendship and sisterhood, and then pay it forward to each new class that goes forward as big sisters, and almost like the sorority experience that you get in college, which is my background. I draw a lot of what I enter into the program based on my experience in college, and a lot of that was leadership and friendship and bonding and just some beautiful experiences with friends. So now we have 300 ladies who have gone through the program, and we have a class of 24 ladies training to walk the runway. They are going to be participating in July, at the end of July in New Orleans, in front of 700 guests in the audience. And then a second class, we always have two classes training at the same time, a second class that's walking the runway in October in my suburb of New Orleans, and there's going to be about 900 guests. But one of the beautiful things about who's in the audience is that, first of all, there's future participants that we invite who get to see their future. They can say, hey, these ladies were just as scared, just as depressed, just as nervous as you are right now in that chair, and look at them now. It's their vision board. They could see these ladies say, I want that, whatever they're feeling, that glow, that smile, that energy, I want that. And so they get to concentrate on that for next year's class. But in the audience are doctors and nurses and all the family members, and each of those have their own reason why I love it so much. Of course, the family members, like you said, the family members don't really know how to act or react, and a lot of times they lose their patience with the patients. They're like, are you feeling better yet? Are you tired?
Yeah.
Are you done
yet? How long do we have to take care of you? Yes.
Right. Like, oh, you have your hair back, so you must be great.
Yeah, you're good.
Or,
you look normal.
Yeah, you're all good. So to see the children and the husbands and the parents and the audience and the friends, who walked that journey with the women, it's like, oh, now they have a place. Now they know how to fit into that experience. And it's just so joyful. I sent you a picture of the family members reacting. I mean, that picture says it all. And actually, I have thousands of pictures like that of audience members over the years. But the other group that I love so much are the oncology nurses who are sitting in the audience. A lot of times they're gifted that experience by the hospitals as like a VIP treatment for them to sort of give them a night out of the scrubs, away from the fluorescent lights, away from the hospital. And they get to sit dressed up while their patients are dressed up and say, oh my gosh, I was the one who administered chemo to her. I sat next to her when she was at her lowest. And then they get to be in such a celebratory environment together. So it was just a beautiful event to be part of it. So much love in the room that if I could